everybody, this is Jenna from Musings from the Middle School. I am here today to talk to you about parent-teacher conferences. We're in that season that I always find that the time between Halloween and Christmas is, busy conference time. Most schools, including mine, including the school where my kids go, my husband's school, this is, the time of year for conferences. And so I just wanted to take a few minutes to share with you some strategies that I have been using to make sure that the conferences that we are having are the most effective. I've definitely had some disastrous conferences in the past. I've been yelled at, I've had parents cry, I've had parents bring their kids and yell at their kids in front of me. I have definitely seen, a lot of interesting things happen at conferences. And, conference time is really sacred. You will only usually have about 15 minutes to sit down and talk to a parent about some issues that can sometimes be pretty big, pretty heavy, and you really want to be able to maximize that time and make the most of the conversation that you're having. So, before I even get started sharing with you my 5 tips, I want to give this little pre-tip to you, which is really try to figure out a way to meet your parents and talk to them for a minute or two about their kid in a really positive way. What I like to do is I like to make phone calls home the first week of school. Because at that point, I don't really know too much about the kids, but I know enough to be able to, give them a quick little anecdote that's positive, a positive interaction I've had with their kid throughout that week. So usually what I do is I call with the premise of inviting them to back to school night, because I do like to give, a personal invitation to back to school night, because it's such a chaotic time and there's so many flyers going home, and I know that some parents are just overwhelmed and busy, and that flyer can get lost and parents can, forget all about back to school night coming up. And so I find this is a really great way to call, introduce myself, say something positive about their child, and invite them to back to school night. It's a quick conversation. I usually will write out what I want to say too in case I have to leave a voicemail. But, I know back to school time is really busy, but I definitely find it is so worth taking those couple of minutes to make each phone call home in the very beginning, because it sets the tone for your relationship for the rest of the year. So again, that's not one of my tips for effective conferences. It's something I recommend because it will likely help your conference go smoother when conference time does come. So I put my 5 tips together in this, one pager, because we're all about the one pager. We're totally on the bandwagon over here. We've been one pager in it like crazy. So feel free to print it out and use it next time you have a conference. But I want to just take some time in this video to explain each one of these tips in a little bit more detail. So tip number 1 is have a positive attitude and a calm demeanor. This can be hard to do, especially if the conversation is difficult. If you are going to be sitting with parents and you have to be sharing with them some information that might be hard for them to hear, you have to make suggestions that they might not be excited about, you are talking about some things that might make the parent feel a little uncomfortable, make them feel embarrassed. It is very easy for that conference to get emotional fast. And what's really important is for you to stay very calm the entire time. Keep calm, stay positive, be kind, keep making parents understand that you're here to support them, you are here to help, that you love their child and you want to see them be successful. Just keep making sure that's the message that you're sending. You do not want to engage in an emotional conversation with a parent, because that could lead you to be saying something that could come back and bite you later on. You also don't want parents to wind up getting so incredibly, heated and angry that, you shut them down and don't hear from them for the rest of the year. So keep calm, stay positive. Yes, you might be here to talk about difficult things, but you want parents to understand that you definitely only see a positive outcome coming from this. Even though some of these things, some of these behaviors that you're seeing might be difficult to hear, that we can, together we can conquer this. We can definitely make the school day go better for your son or daughter. And you have to stay calm in order to do that. You really do. If you find that parents are getting too angry, too upset, too heated, do not hesitate to end the conference right there. I have done that before many times in the past when you know things are just getting a little bit too, it's getting too intense. You just say, hey, listen, this isn't really working out. We're not necessarily seeing eye to eye. We're kind of going back and forth with these same ideas and we're not really getting anywhere. I really want to have a productive conference with you, and I think the best way for us to do that is to end this conference today. I want to go talk to my administrator. I want to talk to maybe the guidance counselor. I want to bring them in, and maybe one day next week all of us can sit down and we can try again. And maybe we can have a conversation that's going to lead to a more positive outcome. Don't be afraid to end the conversation. Do it. Before you say something that you regret, before they say something that they regret, just end it and reschedule. But you got to stay calm. You got to stay rational. And I know sometimes that can be hard because, kids can really get under our skin. We can become so emotionally invested in kids. And, it's our emotions run high, but you really, really want to stay calm. Tip number 2. You want to give the parents some time to talk. You want to put the ball in their court. If you're having a conference and you're going to be talking about some things that are difficult, some behaviors that you have some real concerns with, if a kid is really struggling academically, they're really struggling socially, you're going to be talking about some things that are hard for parents to hear. You want to give them opportunity to talk. And so what I find the best way, the best way I find to do that is I start every conference by saying, hi, I'm Jenna. I am your son's ELA teacher. We've been off to such a busy start this year. Things have been crazy, and we have been, we've covered so much so far this year. Tell me a little bit about, how is your son feeling about school? What does he come home and tell you about the school day? And then stop talking. Give parents time to talk. Give them time to, to get it out. Let them share. If they're saying something like, he comes home every day, he says he hates school. Say, when you talk to him about that, what are some of the reasons that he gives for hating school? Why does he feel like he hates school? What is it about his experience that he's not liking? And again, give them time to talk. And then I always like to say, can you tell me a little bit about your son's previous experience in school? What has school been like for him in the past? And again, stop and let them talk. Because here's the thing. If you're having a problem with a kid, you're not the first teacher to be having that problem with the kid. Chances are the parents have been hearing this before. Chances are a lot of the things that you're seeing at school, they're seeing at home too. Give them time to talk. Give them time to bring up the issues. Because that way it doesn't seem like, you're sitting down and you're saying, we're struggling with X, Y, and Z. Parents can get really defensive awfully quick when the conversation starts that way. So give them some control of the narrative. Let them speak. And once they sort of bring something up, use that as a segue into what it is you want to talk about. So you can say, that's interesting that he struggled with that in 6th grade. Let me share with you a little bit about what I'm seeing here in 7th grade and see if what I'm telling you sounds the same as what his teacher was telling you, last year. But by putting the ball in their court, it really makes your conference feel more like a conversation rather than, the teacher just bombarding the parent with what's not going well. Tip number 3. Once you have the conversation going, once you have, once you're dialoguing about some of the concerns, you want to make sure that you're using really clear and concise language. So stay away from the educational jargon. Parents don't want to feel like you're talking down to them. They want to understand what you're saying. They don't want to be intimidated. If they feel intimidated by you, then that tends to make them shut down too fast or not give enough information to be helpful. So clear language, layman's terms, definitely conversational, and stick to facts, not your opinion. I have, sometimes it's really easy to generalize what we think is wrong with a kid or what we think they're struggling with. Even by just saying things like, your son is disrespectful or your son or your daughter is disorganized, that can make parents get defensive, and because you're giving really your opinion. But if you present it to them in a way where you're sharing with them facts, like, here is what I am seeing. Your son said this, that, and the other thing last week during my class. That's harder to argue with. You're just, when you give them the facts of the situation that have led you to the opinion, then, hopefully that will also lead the parents to that opinion. And I just find that they take facts and coming to their own opinions better than you trying to force your opinion onto them. It keeps them, like I said, it keeps them from getting defensive, and it keeps the conversation, going two ways. Tip 4, give parents specific and manageable things they can try at home to help their child with what it is you're seeing at school. Organization is always a big one, because organization is so personal to a person. It's really like, you might know how you organize yourself, but other people might not organize themselves the same way you do, and that can be hard for you to understand in the same way it's hard for them to understand your methods of organization. Organization is overwhelming. So instead of saying your child really needs help with being organized, give them a specific task that they can do that's manageable, and to help their kid at home. Like, so for example, this is, these are the agenda books our kids use. One of the things that I can say is, hey, listen, this is your child's agenda book. They should be bringing it home every night. We don't sign agenda books anymore in middle school. That's what they did in elementary school. So I'm not necessarily checking this, but one thing you can do is ask them every night, hey, we've got 2 minutes here. Can I see your agenda book? Look and see what they have written down. If it's empty, chances are they're missing homework, they're not getting projects done, they're falling behind. So that's something a parent can do. It's a specific task. And say to them, every night, sit down, take 2 minutes to go through your child's agenda book with him or her, and use that as a way to sort of help foster some organizational habits in your kid. That's manageable. That's something parents can actually do. It's not an overwhelming concept like, help your kid become more organized. That's too overwhelming. But, again, specific tip, they can work with that. And then lastly, tip number 5, you want to make sure that you always try to end a conference on a positive note, making sure that parents are really understanding that you are in this together. Parents and teachers, I think, are the most important sort of players in a kid's tribe for a long time. We really are the most influential. We have a lot of responsibility to that little person. And so you really want to make sure that parents feel like you are a team and you are in this together, and that, yes, that is your child and you love them to pieces, but I really love your kid too. And I'm invested in making sure your kid is successful in school. And if you and I can work together, then, your kid is going to be unstoppable. You really want parents, that makes parents feel so much better. I think it's hard for people to understand what teaching is like. I mean, I don't think many people can wrap their heads around, we take 100 kids into our hearts every school year, and they mean something. We care about them. We love them. That's hard for, I think, people to understand. Even for me, when I go and visit my kids at their school and I see their teachers interact with them, it's the most touching thing in the world, because I'm watching somebody else love and be invested in my kids' well-being. I mean, it's an amazing thing, and it's not necessarily something everyone gets to experience if you're not in a field like this. So you really want teachers to understand, or you really want parents to understand, like, listen, I love your kid too, and I'm rooting for your kid, and if we, if we're in this together, everything's going to be okay. You know, we really can work things out. So, you know, just make sure no matter how the conference goes, even if things get a little emotional, things get a little bit, you know, intense, make sure you're ending with that message, because it really goes a long way. Yeah, so those are it. Those are my 5 tips. Again, I've got it here on this paper. If you want to print this out, it's sort of like a little cheat sheet of it. But another thing you can do, this isn't necessarily a tip again, this is like, I guess, like a post tip. It's definitely helpful as soon as you're done a conference to write down everything that you can remember about what happened there. You forget so fast, and you have, you know, like us, like, you know, we'll have 30 conferences in one day. It's very easy to forget and have things sort of like blend together. Take a few notes, write down everything, like the most important stuff that you talked about, and just file it away. Something that's really great to do is, if you're super ambitious, you know, the next day to sit down and send an email to all those parents that you met with and just share those notes. Say, hey, you know, here's what we talked about. Here was some of the strategies you can try at home to help him or her. If you need my contact information, you know how to contact me if you want to talk about things further. You know, it's just a great way to sort of, you know, record keep and, you know, keep everybody, what am I trying to say here? Just, you know, just keep everybody like in the loop of what's going on. So it certainly doesn't hurt to do that in the end. But yeah, that's what I got for you. So enjoy your conference season. Such a crazy time of year. Oh my gosh, I get overwhelmed just thinking about all the things that I have to do between now and January 1st. But, you know, enjoy your conference season, and let me know if you try some of these and how they work for you, or if there's any other tips that you want to add to this list. Maybe ones that I haven't considered. I would love to hear them. So please share, comment, like this post, give me some feedback. I'd love to hear from you. So I hope you're having a good school year. This is my first video of the 2017-2018 school year. I haven't done one yet because I've been so overwhelmed. But I hope things are going well. I hope you're having a good school year. And yeah, see you all soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.